So today's video is going to be about how, extremely intense manual labor completely changed my outlook on life, completely changed who I was. This is Iron Aftercare with Greg. If you guys like the content, please remember to like the video. Please subscribe. I love all you guys. So one of the times when I was locked up in jail, we had kind of like a release jail. So like if you had kind of like a minimum sort of crime, you could be put over to this jail where you could be released during the day for like work, or you could do community service, which is super cool because like if you don't have like super hard charges, you would be able to like, make some money, before you got out of jail. Or if you did community service, you had the opportunity to work time off. And it was actually a really sweet gig. So like when you were in the county jail, if you did, service in there, like you worked the kitchen or you worked laundry, I think it was for every 24 hours that you worked, so every 3 days that you worked in there, you got 1 day off your sentence in the county jail. When you did community service at this release jail, it was 8 hours for 8 hours. Or no, I'm sorry, 8 hours of work for 24 hours off your sentence. So every day that you worked in the community service, you got to work a day off, which is a super sweet gig. So when I had gone there, I had 6 months, I think a 6-month sentence that I had to do. And at first I tried to get a job because I knew like when I got out of jail, I was going to be homeless and I wouldn't have anything. So to me, I really just wanted to be able to work that 6 months and be able to, have money when I got out of work when I got out of jail and have money, and have a job secured for me. I ended up not being able to find a job, so I ended up getting community service. And there was a few different community services that you could do there. One of them was you work for the parks. It's like the park and rec. And then the other one, you got to work for like the highways, like cities. So which means like you're picking up stuff on the highway all day, basically. I ended up getting parks. And parks was kind of like, it was positioned at like a golf course. So like you got to work with these people that like worked on a golf course and took care of like all different properties around the area. So like the courthouse, some other like city properties. One had like an expo center and all this other stuff. And they took care of all of like their landscaping and grass. So our personal jobs, I went there with like 4 people. So 4 people during the day we got released. Sometimes it was like 5, sometimes it was 6, but it was usually around like 4 people. And our sole job was to just push mow. That was it. We had push mowers. And we would literally push mow for 8 hours of that day. You would end up getting, oh no, I shouldn't say 8 hours, like 7.5 hours. But you would end up getting like literally 7.5 hours of you just push mowing. And it was complete bullshit because a lot of these like plots of like grass that we were cutting was like huge acreage, or like around the courthouse, or like around like the golf course, stuff that like totally like a tractor like pulling blades or like a 0-turn mower would cut normally, you would just be push mowing. So like where they could have cut it in like a half hour, it would take you like 3 hours to push mow. And a lot of people didn't really push themselves really hard on this. I've always been like kind of like a hard worker, mostly because like I've always had like this fear of like disappointing people. I didn't want to like disappoint people and think that I sucked at stuff. And I hated losing. I didn't want people to think like I was a loser. So like anywhere I've ever worked, I've tried to like apply myself a lot. And a lot of these workers that got this like release program that were push mowing with me were constantly like taking smoke breaks, hiding behind trees, hiding in the bathroom, just doing whatever they could to not be push mowing. And I pushed myself like super hard in this program where I was just like, I thought it was such a gift to be able to like work an entire day off in just, 8 hours of work, which is nuts. I'm like, I could turn my 6-month sentence into 3 months. And at this time, when I was locked up, I was about like 300 pounds. So about like, I think I was like maybe just a little bit under, but never worked out a day in my life. Like maybe I like hit the gym a few times in high school. I hit the gym a few times like when I was like younger, but never like consistently ever worked out. Like I was just completely shit out of shape. And the first day that we went out to go cut the grass, there was like a thunderstorm. And that was the thing about this. Like, it didn't matter if it was like super hot, super cold, raining, thunderstorm. It didn't matter. Like, you were out there push mowing no matter what. And legitimately, like, the alternative to what it was is like, you were just going to go sit back in the jail anyways if you weren't out there. And that first day that I was out there, I remember like being about like 2 hours through and my feet hurt so bad. And all I wanted to do was quit. And I was like getting wet. So I was getting blisters and all my clothes were wet. And every second that I was out there, I kept telling myself like, just quit, just go back. And I just had to keep like talking myself out of it. And I was like, my back was in pain, my legs were in pain, my knees were in pain, just because I was so heavy and like so out of shape. Luckily, I was able to push through that day and like all of my feet were blistered up. I was chafing. I was super fucked up. But it wasn't until like the next day that like I realized that like I was like really fucking sore. Like I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't even walk on my feet. They were just aching so bad. And I just decided that like, you know, like I cannot throw the opportunity to like work 3 months off my sentence. And my goal at the time is I wanted to like lose weight anyways. So I'm like, this is like the perfect opportunity for me to just get out and like walk all day long and just get as much exercise as I can in to like lose the weight. And this first week that I was out there, you know, I can't even tell you, like, I was like talking to myself in my head every second, every minute, every time that I was out there, just trying to tell myself like, dude, just sit down, take a break, fuck this, just quit, just quit, just quit. And it's crazy like how our bodies do that, where like we just get into something like super uncomfortable and our body just goes into like survival mode, where it's just like, dude, like everybody else is sitting down over there, or everybody else quit already. You should too, like get out of this painful situation. And there was something about it, like as the days went on and I would like push myself through these days, like they were just like super painful. They always started out like for that first like maybe 30 minutes, just excruciating pain with like shin splints in my knees and my hips, and just everything across the board would just hurt so bad with every step. And then like after like 30 minutes, it's like, I don't know if like blood started flowing. I started getting like a little bit of adrenaline, but that pain kind of like faded away a little bit. And I was able to just kind of coast throughout the day. And then I just had to work on myself mentally. And I know this sounds like super stupid ridiculous. Like this guy was just push mowing grass, you know? But it was just like literally like pushing a mower like all day long when I was like in the worst shape ever. And as like those days like kept rolling by and I kept like pushing myself to go back, I kept pushing myself to just keep working through the day and not quit. There was like this little bit of like confidence that came with it. You know, like I didn't notice it at the time, but I started feeling like, you know, slightly a little happier. You know, I was in a lot of pain. I still wanted to quit, but I just kept feeling like, you know, just a little bit of happiness, you know, and started feeling a little bit better. And at that time, I had been locked up maybe about like 60 days, maybe like 2 months, maybe 2.5 months before I went to this program and had about 6 months left. So I had been withdrawing off of heroin and methadone. And I had gone through the withdrawal phase. And once I go through the withdrawal phase where I'm not necessarily sick anymore, that's usually about like 2 weeks to 3 weeks. But like inside my body, I still didn't feel right. Like my bones were aching. Mentally, I didn't feel right. I couldn't find any way to be happy. I was just struggling mentally. And there was something about doing this manual labor. Like when I had gone there, I just started making like huge leaps in like the way that I felt mentally. You know, I started getting just like this satisfaction of like completing something, you know, something that was difficult, something that like I wanted to quit so bad, but I didn't, and I pushed through it. And it built this confidence in me that was just like eye-opening for me, where I'm like, you know, 2 to 3 weeks into here, it was a combination of like not quitting, continuing to push through something that I wanted to quit, but I wouldn't allow myself to do it. And I was losing weight. It's like my clothes started fitting a little bit looser. And I started to feel a little bit lighter on my feet. And then 4 weeks and 5 weeks, and all this time goes by, and I keep dropping weight, and I keep dropping weight. It was like all these switches going off in my head where I just started to become more confident, and I started to become more just happy. Just overall, like my well-being was just way better. And it was like a way that I had never felt before, like in my life. Because naturally, every time like I've came off of heroin, and even for those like 60 to 90 days before I went into this program, my anxiety was just through the roof. My anxiety was through the roof. My depression was up there. I was sad all the time. And I'm telling you, when I was out there pushing myself, it was like one of the first times in my life that I didn't feel any anxiety. It was like I was pushed so hard out there, and I was so dead tired when I came back from the day of working that like anxiety, it just didn't even exist in my body. And I had never been able to feel that before. The only time that I've been able to feel that is through drug use, is through opiates, where like that would calm me down. So it was like all these doors like kept opening for me, and I'm like, wow, like I haven't like felt anxious in days. And I haven't felt sad in days, and I'm like excited, and I can't wait till like the next day to get out there, and I'm gonna push myself harder. Like this week, you know, I'm gonna start dieting. I'm gonna start watching what I'm eating. I'm so excited to lose weight. I'm so excited to do all this stuff. And in the backside, like it was fitness. It was like pushing myself physically. It was getting into shape. It was pushing through things that, you know, I didn't necessarily want to do, but I knew I had to do it. It was those two key main things of losing weight and getting in better shape and feeling better about myself and not quitting. And that's what working out is all about, really. You know, when you start setting goals, even if they're small goals, even if you don't even necessarily have a goal or you don't have a plan, but you're just going to get out there and you're just going to start running. Every day I'm going to run for 20 minutes. Or every day I'm going to go for a walk for, 45 minutes. And then I'm going to up it, after a few weeks. Or every day I'm going to lift weights. Whether you have a plan or you have a goal or not, it's pushing yourself outside of your boundaries, doing things that, you don't necessarily want to do, that they're hard for you, but you have to get it done. It's like, that's the best way that I've ever felt to like build my self-confidence and make myself happy, was doing that kind of stuff. And the best way to put those challenges into you and get like a fast gratification from it is through fitness. Immediately I started doing running, because that was like the most gratifying thing that I could do at the fastest moment. That was just like sprints, HIIT training and stuff like that, where it's like, I want to quit, but I don't. And you can exert yourself physically super hard in a very short amount of time. which helps me get my release, of like my anxiety. It helps me like calm down for the day. And then that other part of it is like, while you're doing all this stuff, I mean, for me personally, was, yeah, I'm building my confidence and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm feeling better about myself. But the side effect of it is that I was losing weight. And I was going down to the size that I like, and I was starting to look a way that I like. And like that, accompanied with like pushing through things that I didn't want to, like those two things together just started making me an unbreakable person. And I followed that trend as soon as I got out of jail, and I got right into the running and I got right into the HIIT training. And that was a great substitute for that, and then the weight training, the weightlifting came in a little bit after that. And then ever since then, like I've just been doing it on a daily basis to keep myself in check, to keep my anxiety down, keep myself feeling good about myself. I could take a few days off, here and there, but generally, the purpose I work out is not 100% for like the way that I look or the way that I want to look. It's about how I want to mentally feel for the day. It's like I want to challenge myself and I want to exert myself on a daily basis so that I can feel better throughout the day. When I got out of that program, I was about 296 pounds when I got into it. So it gets kind of confusing because sometimes we could work Saturdays. So I ended up working off like a little bit over 3 months. So I only did like 2.5 months in that program. And within that 10 weeks, I was probably 226. I dropped almost like 70 pounds. Like 70 pounds in 10 weeks just from doing that. Just pushing a push mower in the heat 7.5 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. And losing that weight and pushing myself through that program literally set me up for success. And it gave me a whole new outlook on life. And in the closing of like this whole video, it's peak physical fitness to calm my anxiety and relax myself for the day. And then working on a body that you can create that you're going to love. Like if you hate the way that you look, actively start trying to change it. It's not going to be something that you're going to do right away, but it's the process in which you're doing it every day. You're taking those steps every day. When you take those steps every day, those are the things that you should reward yourself for because you're working towards that. And the third thing is setting goals and achieving them. That built my confidence more than anything. Guys, I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into why I work out, and hopefully you can take something away from this. Like I said, always open for discussion. If you guys disagree with something, agree with something, please make sure to comment down below. If you guys like the video, like, subscribe. Otherwise, I'm out. I love you.